What I can do is from the inside is teach individuals, how do you connect with yourself? How do you regulate? How do you experience calm? How can you experience safety in the body, even for just moments a day? And when you learn to do that, you can also do it for your children. You can co-regulate them. And when you do it for them, you can do it not only in your home, but you can start to do it outside of your home. And if we can start doing this, we change our world, our communities, we actually can do this.
Welcome to the Fresh Start Family Show. I'm your host, Wendy Snyder, powerful parenting educator and family life coach. And together we are going on a journey to help you expand your heart, learn new tools, and strengthen your family so you can build the family legacy of your dreams. I'm a mama too turned child and family advocate who went from being extremely stressed out back when my strong-willed little girl was a toddler to now thriving as a parent and having the honor to support thousands of families each year who choose to go from frazzled and impatient to peaceful and empowered. Each week, we will dive in with experts, thought leaders, authors, and advocates with insights to help you thrive in your parenting walk, as well as in your marriage and even in your career and faith walk too. Together, sometimes alone, sometimes with my better half and co-host Terry, we'll explore the triumphs and trials we all face as parents and share practical tools to fill our hearts, minds, and souls with inspiration. Take a deep breath and get ready to be poured into with some fresh start inspiration. Let's do this. Well, hello there, families, and welcome back to a new episode. I'm your host, Wendy Snyder, powerful positive parenting educator and family life coach. And today on the show, we have Miss Kiesha Yokers, who is talking to us about how we can calm our chaos. And we're talking about breathwork and somatic magic for parents. And so Kiesha is an incredible wealth of knowledge. She is actually the head of breathwork and somatic programs at Lindywell, but she's also a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator and somatic practitioner. She's dedicated to empowering individuals on their healing journey. She is recognized by major brands and figures, including former First Lady Michelle Obama. So I am really excited for you guys to get to know her through this episode today. As always, if you love this episode, please just take a screenshot, share with us over on social. I'm on Instagram at Fresh Start Wendy, and I would love to hear from you there. Now that we are on YouTube, it's kind of fun to have two places to listen to our podcast. You can listen to us on Apple, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you hear your podcasts, but then you can also enjoy video over on YouTube if you like that too. So if you haven't checked out either one of those, whatever you're listening to on now, just know that we do have voice only through the podcast app. And then now we have video also, which I think just adds an extra dimension and layer to these episodes to help you really get to know the guest and just kind of be a little bit more intimate with us in the conversation. So thank you for being here. I appreciate every single one of you who is a loyal listener of the Fresh Start Family Show. And without further ado, help me welcome Kiesha to the show. Welcome to the show, Kiesha.
Thank you. You did great. It's always such a mouthful.
I know. When I tell people, when they say what I do, I'm like, I need to create a new title because I say powerful positive parenting educator and family life coach. And they just kind of look at me like, what? I'm like, I know, it's too long.
Okay, I love it.
Oh, but we're so happy to have you here on the show today. And we are really excited to talk about 3 practices for nervous system health and inner calm in our parenting walks. So, cheers to that.
I know, me too. I'm ready.
Yes, please. I know. I was, as I was preparing for this interview today, I was like, oh man, this is going to be so relaxing this afternoon because I get to be in your presence and just your vibe. And I know that what you've been focused on doing in your work and in your own life of healing, and just really the light that you radiate out into the world is just beautiful to be around and in the presence of. And it's just, I was like, this is going to be a fantastic hour. So here we are. And why don't we do this? Before we head into our subject matter, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, Kiesha, and how you got here to be doing this incredible work. And I will tell you before you do that, I love how God aligns things because you at Lindy Well, you guys started to bring in, so I've been a member of Lindy Well, by the way, which is Fresh Start Family's favorite Pilates and just like personal care programming. And Robin Long, the founder, is incredible. She's been on our podcast before, but I've been a member since I think now like 8 years. 8 years I've been a member.
Well, thank you. We are longtime members.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I am grandfathered in at the best rate ever.
You are. I am.
I found them, you guys, when I had a sea urchin like injury or whatever. I was surfing in Mexico, got this sea urchin, had to have surgery to get this darn little like 1 millimeter piece of urchin out of my foot. It was awful. And that's when I discovered Pilates. My neighbor, Natalie, was like, hey, you should check out my friend Robin's work. And it's just been such a blessing in my life. And then when I saw you guys starting to implement more breath work into Lindy Well, I was just really intrigued and started to learn more about you and the work you do. And then this last fall, really felt God calling me and nudging me to start doing nervous system healing work. And it was interesting because it came in the form of financial healing. But the teacher and the mentor that I fell in love with, her name is Kate Northrup. It was so much nervous system regulation work. And I started to get into more breath work and using aromatherapy to like solidify new thought patterns and just all this cool stuff. And so I really have been looking forward to this interview for a long time. And now I'm excited to hear your wisdom today because we are incorporating more breath work and nervous system relaxation strategies into our Fresh Start Experience program with new like monthly program or monthly workshops where we're just practicing together what this looks like. Because I think in the end, it's just one big practice, right? To make it become more like who you are and just what you do. But with all that said, Kiesha, please tell us about your story and how you became so passionate about doing what you do and how you got to where you are today, helping so many through your work.
I love it. It's, whenever someone asks you your story, you're like, where do I begin? And also, by the way, I live in Seattle and it's snowing here and it's like raining and snowing and it's really pretty. And oh my goodness.
I love that you're in a window. My office is like in a converted garage. And I'm like, I want a window one day. It's on my goals vision board.
So, okay. Where do I begin? I'll begin at the beginning. So I have, I was an elementary school teacher for a long time, and I'm sure you have, those listeners. And
we
so
love our teachers.
Me too. They're my people. And, if you are listening to this and you can't see me, you would probably guess you were a first grade teacher, kindergarten teacher, and it was an early elementary school. I just love little kids. I love them so much. And I just believe in children. I like always, even as a child, I just thought children are the most wonderful thing. And so I just knew I wanted to do this since I was a kid. And I'm very grateful that I had this beautiful career in education. And I will say I was I used to be called Mary Poppins because I would just sing but I was very strict. It was really strict because I just wanted to learn, and I ran a tight ship and there was rules for it. And so it's funny because I look back and I go, whoa, oh boy, the things I would do differently, the things that I said, and my understanding of the body, the nervous system, neurodiversity, the way kids show up. And that's a whole nother talk on to teachers, but also to parents, is how we view like our norms of children, our norms of boys, girls, their behavior, how they should act. And so, so that sort of informs the work that I do is from the lens of teaching. And so my husband is in the military and he just retired after 20 years. For the Navy. We're so happy to be, settled. And so really
congratulations. We love military here. We have free curriculum for active duty military families in our Fresh Start Family Gives program. So thank you for your service, Kiesha.
Absolutely.
And his.
Yeah. So we've moved around for 20 years and, every 2 years we move and I've seen a lot of things. We've seen a lot of loss, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain. It's a very extreme life. It's like, I always think of that season as life that is concentrated, if that makes sense. It's just like so intense and like, I moved to a new place that I've never been. It's like being picked up from a crane and dropped and looking around and going, are you going to be my friend? Are we going to survive? Are we going to do this together? And it's almost like being around people that, whether they know it or not, are in fight or flight, because that's just sort of the life. And it's like, how do we regulate together? How do we how do we create consistency and safety and love and friendship and our kids? I'm going to raise your kid and it's like very beautiful and very intense. And then you add, we were stationed overseas in Japan, my favorite place in the world. And, we were there in 2011 for the nuclear disaster, tsunami and earthquake.
Dang.
And I could in like 10 seconds, I could list tornadoes, Category 4 hurricanes, loss of active duty service members. I could just go on and on and on and on and say how 1 decade, what I experienced, my therapist likes to say, is more than most people do in a lifetime. And it was sort of normal to me, right? And so then there came the point where, and I'm really cautious. I will say that I'm really cautious and mindful. So pardon me if I just sort of think for a second about what I say, because I don't want to trauma dump on people. Like, you may not be ready for that. And so I want to be, mindful. But trauma does inform my story.
Families, listen up, because I have something very exciting to tell you. The Fresh Start Family Freedom to Be Personal Development course is taking place on September 28th and October 5th, and registration is officially open for you to grab your ticket. This is the program that changed everything for me 10 years ago when I was new to positive parenting and loving what I learned in class. But when I came home to apply the strategies I was taught, I struggled. After going through this life-changing program, I all of a sudden was actually able to respond versus react, implement compassionate discipline instead of constantly reverting to harsh punishments, and actually stop blaming my strong-willed toddler for all of my problems. I'm not exaggerating when I say that Freedom to Be changed the entire future trajectory of my life, and I am completely honored and humbled to now be teaching this course. During this experiential program taking place on September 28th and October 5th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific, it's all online, so no matter where you are in the world, you can join us. But you will get both the heart and the soul, which is the spirit side, of ending limiting belief cycles and healing from past experiences and stories that are keeping you stuck in negative knee-jerk reaction cycles, whether that's in your parenting or your marriage or even your career. And you're going to get the step-by-step logistics, which is what I call the strategy side, of changing your unhealthy behaviors, your unproductive tones, your negative self-talk, and some of the broken communication cycles. We're going to help you turn those into healthy ones that you're proud of and that actually work to make you feel really good about the way you handle yourself each day, no matter how strong-willed your kids are or what kind of challenges get flung your way. So I want you to head on over to freshstartfamilyonline.com/freedom to learn more and save your seat. This program is a 2-day course, and seats are selling out very quickly because seats are so limited for this program. So if it's easier to shoot me a DM on Instagram, just come find me. I'm at FreshStartWendy, and send me the word transform, and I will personally send you a link to learn more in your DMs. Or if you're enjoying this episode on YouTube, you can just simply click below in the show description or in the pinned comment, and that'll take you to the information page. And don't forget, if you are a Fresh Start Experience member, you get a special discounted rate off your Freedom to Be ticket. So be sure to check your email and the private group for more info about that. All right. I cannot wait to see you at Freedom to Be. It's going to be so fun to gather with you for this 2-day workshop and experiential healing program. And let me know if you have any questions, but head on over, grab your ticket, and I'll see you there.
So I got, I had my infertility years. That was, a tough time.
Wow.
Classes, and it's so funny. I mean, like I'm cutting to things so quickly, and then got pregnant, and then 8 months into my pregnancy, moved to a new place, and and started with a new doctor, and had the birth that I did not hope would happen that way, but it did, and I had this beautiful child, and then a few weeks later, I had a medical accident that caused me to have a stroke. And right in front of this person, and again, another really tough story. And I had a 3-week-old.
Dang, girl.
I know. And so when I say in that first year of my son's life, I had to learn how to walk and talk again. And it was awful. It was really hard.
I bet. Yeah.
Things that I didn't know is like there's a whole category of people that have these really awful things that happen, cancer or heart attacks, or that are younger than the age of people that you would expect to have it. And so, we're always surprised if an 18-year-old gets cancer. We're like, what? That's not supposed to happen. You're not surprised when someone is 65. I mean, I don't want it for anyone, but we're always shocked when a 30-year-old has a heart attack. That's not supposed to happen. So I was 35, and I had this stroke from this medical. It was caused to me, and
which is like compounds the
right,
because there's so many emotions, I'm sure, of hurt and anger and just intense emotions to process. I can't even imagine.
And it challenged, it challenged everything. It challenged my marriage. Didn't know that people that have strokes and heart attacks naturally, they tend to be depressed and have lifelong depression and anxiety. They high divorce rates. It's incredibly hard on caretakers. Like here we are with a brand new baby. I'm learning how to breastfeed and also navigating. How does my marriage work? How do we do this? How are we to be in the military? We don't even know anyone here. Like, yeah, I say it is the hardest road I'd ever walked down. That one was it. And it challenged my faith in God. It challenged the rules that I believe guided my, just oriented my life. Like if I'm a good girl, if I am pleasing to God, if I do everything I'm supposed to do, like he'll keep me safe. And so this thing happened to me, and I'm like, how did you not keep me safe? Where were you? and so I say that, and I'll probably come back to that because it really changed. It just broke the structure of the rules I created for the world and through my faith practice. And I say safety. It was like, God, your job is to keep me safe. My job is to be a good girl and make you happy.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I didn't know that until this trauma happened. And so as I moved, as we continued to move on to different places, pandemic hits, I watched George Floyd die in front of me. That year, I lost my ever-loving mind. That year was traumatizing for all humanity. And for people who have a lot of complex PTSD and complex trauma, that year brought it to the surface for a lot of people in ways that it took us out. And so by the end of the year, I was in a bad way, and I said some things to my husband, like I said some scary things, like just some dark thoughts, and I was just casual about it. And I remember looking at me going, we're going to need to get some help now. So
right.
So freaked out.
And thank you for telling me, hopefully,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Thank you for not suppressing that.
Totally. And so I did. I'm so grateful. The first step in me getting help, it's funny, is breath work. So I remember, I Can't Breathe was everywhere. Like you can see that, everywhere. And I remember sitting in my bedroom going, I cry now. I can't breathe. I cannot breathe. There is nothing in me. And as a biracial Black woman, it resonated. I mean, like the idea of the Black breath being so short and having my children going is, how many breaths do you get in this life? And how do I have to, like, I'm going to be in fight or flight. I'm going to be on high alert. I was so high alert for those years. And we were stationed in a town that was very hostile towards people like me. And so I just remember thinking, like, I don't know. I don't have it. God, I don't have it. I have nothing left. And I Googled how to breathe better and breath.
No way.
And I didn't know what breathwork was. And so I saw a free class, and like on YouTube, 10 minutes, I did it. Like, what do I have to lose? And then I would love to say to you, I felt better and all of my problems went away, but they didn't. But what is even better, because also red flag, people in the breathwork world can say inflammatory statements like, it's 20 years of therapy in one session. Ma'am, non-binary friend, it is not. Like, but does it have the power to open up release? Yes, of course. And you want to do that with a person who is trauma trained and knows that there are times you want to have an opening, and there are times it's actually could cause more trauma. And so
interesting.
So here I am. I do this 10-minute session. And what happens is I was like, okay, energized. And I got online and I looked for trauma therapy programs, and I got on several wait lists, and I found doctors, and I had this boost of energy. And you know what it was? It was oxygenating my body. It was oxygenating my brain. Properly breathing will oxygenate your organs, your muscles. It'll deliver what it needs, and especially to the brain. So the brain fog or the depression, like, and I'm not saying the diagnosis of depression, but the feelings and experiences can be so dense. And then when we properly breathe, it's almost like, parts of our body go, okay, now I can just sort of, I can get all the nutrients I need, and I can function properly. It's really like a physical level, like something happened to my physiology. And so that led to the next step. So I kept doing it, which led to the next step and the next step. It gave me a sense of clarity, and it calmed my nervous system. It brought me into what I didn't know how to name then was my parasympathetic nervous system, from being in a state of hypervigilance, which long-term hypervigilance is bad news for you.
Yeah.
So, and then fast forward to, I got into a program, really by the grace of God, a program in Malibu. It was, we lived in LA, and I would drive there. It was an outpatient 6-week program. I could never afford this. Right. They had a scholarship for military, random. So I got in, yes. And it was somatic therapy. So it was all therapists, psychotherapists, everyone was credentialed, and they were all trained in different forms of somatics, meaning body-based healing modalities. So whether it was breathwork, meditation, trauma-informed yoga, energy work, neurofeedback, brain spotting, somatic experiencing, they did the best of the best techniques, coupled with cognitive behavioral therapy, talk therapy. And the combination of that helped to move trauma out of the body. And it was life-changing. If every human had this, we would be, our world would look very different. But it comes with a price tag. It's very expensive. I knew I would never have had access to this. And so, so long story short, it changed my world. I did so much healing from the stroke and that year and that time. And I mean, we did deep, deep work that they started in 6 weeks. And years later, I've been able to pursue that. What I didn't know is we uncovered in the safety of this place what my real trauma was. I had no idea that my real trauma was my very extreme evangelical background, and that it controlled every thought I have ever had, every action I've ever taken, and that I had not been hypervigilant since 2020. I had been hypervigilant since 7. And that my OCD, which I literally have, that is sort of focused on death. It's like a certain type. Yeah. Stems on death. Fear of death. I didn't make the connection. I just thought I was that way. That it was because I thought about hell all day long.
Yep.
Since early childhood. And everything I'd ever done was avoidance of it. And everything, like was just, my thoughts were so black and white and so extreme. I had no idea that was my real deepest trauma. So that really informs who I am and what I'm working through still. And the world has been very turbulent since 2020. I mean, it always has been, but for me, that was when the world turned upside down. And as I did this work on myself, I got really curious. And as a constant student and a teacher, I just read and I learned and I studied. I just couldn't get enough. I was like, if I knew this stuff about my nervous system and the control I have and the connection to it, then, oh my gosh, I could be free. I could feel so healed. And as a person who's a perpetual student, I studied it from a cognitive lens. I mean, I wanted to know neuroscience. Yeah. It's so above my pay grade, but I just was like, I'm going to study the hardest stuff. What I didn't know, because I didn't have the ability, is that the mind-body connection, like there is connection to my intuition, to my voice, to my soma, which is a Greek word for the body in its fullness. It is an internal experience. So as I'm looking at you, Wendy, I see your body, I see your shape, I can perceive you. And sort of when I say shape, it's not like your literal, I mean, I can see your literal shape, but also the shape that you take up, the way you show up, what you're willing to show me in the mask or the hat or whatever you're wearing right now. I can experience that. What I can experience is your thoughts, I can't tell if you're hungry. I don't know if you have pain in your arm. I don't like all of those things, that interoception that is inside of you. I have no knowledge of that. That in that first person experience, that is your soma. So when we talk about somatic, soma, your internal experience, which nobody else knows. So
that is a great description. I've never heard that description before. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Because most people are like, what is somatic? But what I didn't have, and I find a lot of people don't have, is the ability to listen to their own, to be connected to their gut, their intuition, their own voice, to feel attunement to themselves. Because I actually learned as a child that my voice was bad, and to listen to my own voice would mean to cause me, like I am filthy rags. That was the gospel that I learned, is that I'm filthy rags without God. Therefore, God in me is the only thing that's good. My own voice will cause sin, destruction, hell, death. And so when I'm now, I became the somatic practitioner, I started going back to school, I changed my career, and I was approaching it from a cognitive lens, from a head space, and not a body space, which is funny because it's body work. And because I didn't know that for me to be in my body was scary and dangerous and could lead to death. And so, of course, I'm going to leave the body. The mind feels like a safe place to explore, but the body, well, that's sin. So,
and the heart is all things deceit and death. Right. So, of course, you can't listen to your internal knowing.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what brought me to this work, into my own personal healing and transformation. And then just a strong desire to go, well, who needs this? I believe that marginalized communities, what can I do? What can I do for my people? Like, I don't have the power to change entire systems. I vote like my life depends on it. I make lots of phone calls, actually.
Nice.
And, but what I can do is from the inside is teach individuals, how do you connect with yourself? How do you regulate? How do you experience calm? How can you experience safety in the body, even for just moments a day? And when you learn to do that, you can also do it for your children. You can co-regulate them. And when you do it for them, you can do it not only in your home, but you can start to do it outside of your home. And if we can start doing this, like, we change our world, our communities, like we actually can do this. And so I felt like, all right, this is where I'm going to focus in. And it's just sort of expanded. It's like, well, everyone needs this. But in my heart of hearts, I'm like, well, there's a subset of us who grew up a certain way that are like, we don't even know how to connect with the body. That sort of informs where I am today. That was a really long walk, but
I love it. I could sit here and listen to your parts of your story that you didn't go into for hours more. So thank you for blessing us with your story and just sharing that from your heart and letting us into all that. And it's like when I hear you and your passion for this, it is so true that when it comes to like dismantling systems and advocating to change oppressive ways, whether it's in school systems or the church or corporate or communities, wherever it may be, you have to have a settled nervous system, right? Like it's what I'm learning is that you're able to be an effective change maker and honor your own justice button and advocate for change when you feel safe, even when there's so much resistance or fear that kicks in, right? Like learning, I think it couples with emotional literacy, right? Like the ability to like understand, oh, this is the feeling of scared right now. When I walk into my church and I say, hey, I'd like to advocate for you to take that Dobson book off the shelf of our kids ministry area. And I'd like to introduce you to the Jesus the Gentle Parent book and the work of Fresh Start Family and whatever. Or can we bring in somatic breathwork or practices into the healing ministry in our church or into our school? Like, you will need courage. And in order to have courage,
yeah,
you have to feel scared first. And like, that's been my biggest life. Well, one of them. I learned years ago, I had a wonderful mentor say to me once, he said two things to me in one weekend course this one time. He goes, Wendy, when are you going to believe that you're great? And I'm pretty sure he said effing. His name's Dan. I love him so much. But when are you going to believe that you are a great effing mom? And I just remember it being such a pivotal moment in time where I was like, my knee-jerk reaction was to be like, no, I'm not. And that's just stuck with me, to believe in myself. But the second thing you said to me that weekend was, Wendy, your biggest, and this always brings me to tears. It's so interesting. He said, your biggest job in your life as a parent is going to be to teach, because all my stuff was always about Stella, my 16-year-old. I found this work when she was 3. He said, your biggest job is going to be to teach Stella how to feel scared. And because I had realized my whole life, I had so many moments where I was scared, but no one teaches you what to do with that when you're little. And ever, right? And so I had spent all these years like either suppressing or hiding, because like, if you're scared, you're weak. And I grew up like a tomboy in the country of Maryland. And I was like, I'm not weak. I have an older brother and I'm like an athlete. And like, it was just so fun. It's probably been 12 years since he said that to me. And learning how to feel scared has been the biggest blessing in my life. But in order to feel scared, then find your bravery and courage to do big things in the world, whether that's with your own kids, whether that's like healing your nervous system or changing your parenting from how you were raised into something way safer. Or, I hate to use the word better, but whatever it may be, what I'm realizing, especially now in my last 6 months of my own healing journey, is that the nervous system, when it's safe and when it's regulated and when it's settled, you become just so much more effective and able to influence and not shaken. But what a journey it is. Like, I really had no idea how to connect to my body at all before, gosh, I think it's been 2 years since I took my first somatic course, nonlinear movement with my friend Chrissy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my body spoke to me in ways that I'd never known. Like I was like, what? I had no idea that I was carrying shame about my emergency C-section that, thank God, Stella and I survived, like torn placenta, like hemorrhaging, absent birth, which means like I was passed out when she came out into the world. It was so traumatic. I had never done any healing work around that. I had no idea. And in that one, I think it was a three-part Zoom session, Somatic. It might have been during COVID. My body was like, spoke to me and said, we need to heal this shame. And like, you're carrying shame that you think you did something wrong. Like, you think you were the one who like did something wrong and caused this. And then other things that came out in that. But it's just been such a joy to like combine it, right? Like all the thought work and strategy work that powerful positive parenting is, but then start to combine it over the last year or two, especially with like the body and the interoception work. And I'm just soaking it all in. So it's just couldn't be more of a blessing to be here and just soak in your wisdom. And I will tell you, Kiesha, that so many people I know can relate to the story of getting older and not really realizing what that kind of upbringing with like, like so much of the twisted and toxic, unfortunately, teachings and ways in the unhealthy evangelical circles. Like so many people just don't realize how much it damaged their nervous system and the amount of limiting beliefs and just the hardship until they're in their third, fourth decade of life, right? Like I didn't grow up with any type of that. Like my parents like did not bring me to church. My mom would always say, I don't want to indoctrinate you with something. You need to decide on your own. She had come from like, there's healthy circles in every religion and then there's unhealthy circles, right? Like she had come from, I'm sure at times, healthy Irish Catholic nuns and boarding schools and all the things, but many times, like many of her stories are like really a lot of trauma that she experienced from the upbringing and the shame that was who she was. And so she was just like, I don't want that. And I want you to decide on your own. And she became like such a cynic I think she loves God deep down, but she is definitely like just a cynic of religion. And thank God, because I think it caused me to be able to not have the deepest of all deepest fears of what I call the scary Christians, right? So like as a believer of Jesus Christ, like I'm like, I didn't really quite understand the whole unhealthy evangelical world until about like probably 6 years ago now, where I started to realize like, oh, there's this whole world of like really scary, harmful, really tough things that are going on. And then my justice button became bigger and bigger and bigger to help people kind of escape those systems and find a community and a home where they could still be families of faith and not partake in the like hypocrisy or the hurtful, harmful thought patterns and teachings and things that go down that are really told to people like, this is what you need to do if you're going to be a godly person, or like you said, to be a good girl, or like there's just so much like danger and like around every corner, like who's going to judge me and who's going to harm me and who's going to humiliate me. And it's just so it really is. There's a lot of people that relate to that. I think who are just now starting to realize like, oh, I don't have to just agree to this system. I can still be really strong in my faith and find a way to do that is safe and that I heal from some of the things that were done to me. I mean, we just have so many parents in our program that were raised with just heartbreaking Dobson-esque type punishments and just the twisted stuff that just, it's like a mix between wanting to sob and also just pummel people in the face. Like it's like anger and sadness that, but yeah, just so many people connect with your story, I'm sure. So thank you again for being so open with it.
Absolutely. And, I have to say that it's a gift, even like talking to you. I don't know if you've ever felt like, well, because you didn't have that crazy making upbringing, if that limits your ability, you probably don't feel that, but to connect or support. Like I am so blessed that I have like three like my closest friends who are actually all either ordained or they're all happen to be ELCA Lutheran, and I didn't even know what that was. And so I grew up non-denominational. And so as I've moved to different parts of the world, I've just attracted these people, and they all come from the same denomination of just the way they experience and love God and talk about Christ is like, what are you? Are you sure you're a Christian? Because like this is right super weird. And they're my just closest friends, and they did not have that traumatic upbringing. And so these people have been have been a mirror for me. They've like knowing, so I'll say to Shannon all the time, like I'll send her a meme where I'll be like, do you remember this part in time in the 90s when, purity culture, or do you remember here? And she'd always be like, no, I did not. In fact, I remember, Kiesha, I thought this. My parents taught me this. And it's always like, wait, what? And then also it's like such peace and relief to go, wait, there was another way to exist that still honored self, God. Like, it's like such a gift. That they not have that too. There is that fun where you're like, tell me about your crazy. But like, like the people that I just keep very close, luckily are like, and they're always able to hold space, and they're always able to look at me and say, I'm so sorry that happened. Which makes me feel safe, good, but also a reminder that's not normal. So just in case your brain drifts back into, is that normal? Am I normal? So that it's a gift that you did not have that.
I know it really is. I need to make sure I thank my mom for that,
Yeah. And it gives you a community that it's like somebody to check you when your crazy's going a little, on overdrive. Go, no, that's actually not normal. It's okay.
Yes. And that's why I love to have like so many people on the show that are we're like building so many amazing guests that we've interviewed that it takes courage to like put them on my platform, because there's always like some of like the weird, scary Christians that are like, make sure that they let me know that they're leaving. But that's just that are like really choosing to like reconstruct their faith in a way that is so beautiful and just so in line with like the type of like Christ follower that I want to be. And it's so fun to be building in a building stage, right? And like be learning about all these, like I have 3 team members, and one of them, her dad, she grew up with a dad who's priest. He's a priest and they're Greek Orthodox. And she's like, her and her sister are always like, what is this world that you're talking about, Wendy? Like that was not how things were done in our church. And they're pastors' kids, right? And they were like, and then another team member who is Episcopalian. And she's like, what is this world of like this weirdness? She's like, we have like an assistant, or I forget what they call him, like our assistant pastor, but he's like fully gay and married. And our main pastor is like going away on sabbatical for 6 months, and he's stepping in, and we're all like so excited. And his husband's there every week. And we're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh yes, the Episcopal Church is like, there's a whole world of Christianity that is not scary and harmful and humiliating. And it's like, okay, we are safe. We are safe to be wherever you are at in your faith walk, and just the courage it takes, right? So thank you for bringing just the sense of safety by going first and sharing all that, and just knowing that like you're doing the healing work, right? And like finding that original trauma and realizing, like, I imagine we haven't even gotten to your kids yet. Kiesha, how old are your kids? And I imagine you're like, hell no, I'm not passing this on.
Right. That's right. Absolutely not. And isn't it interesting how we will take suffering, and suffering is a word that like was really conveyed as a value to me in my childhood. We are to suffer for Christ. Well, I am not a biblical scholar, so somebody could take that and tell me otherwise, but that without guardrails or any sort of contextual understanding, I was like, okay, so then I am supposed to suffer at all times. And that would actually make me super godly. And so,
of course, right.
And I'd say that brought so much danger and harm into my life. And so, So there's no way in hell that's what I'm doing for my children. And so it's just funny how we could say we can be yes for ourselves, but no when it's our babies. And so
Right.
as they started to speak, they're 7 and 9 now. They're, they started to grow, and you're trying to give them information. You're trying to give them lessons. You're trying to give them morals. You're trying to give them. I would start to say these things that would naturally come out, and I'd be like, oh, wait, no, I'm going to get back to you on that one. And I would in, and I just, was like telling my husband, how do we teach them these things? Like, how do we teach them how to exist in this world and not use the language and the fear and the anxiety? And we just didn't realize that that's what it is until you're reteaching it to someone else. You're like, oh, this sounds off. And so, yes, this has absolutely shaped our parenting. We did a deep dive in 2021 and started with a gentle parenting coach, and it rocked our world. And bless these 2 women who weren't ready for, these former evangelical kids to come to them and be like, but, and they just were wonderful and held space and taught us how, they just pushed our thinking. And
Yes.
We're just one instance of if my daughter spills water on purpose on the floor, she has to clean it. She has to do the whole thing. She has to apologize. What they were proposing was well, why? She's
Right.
3. It's within range of developmental, she's curious, even if she's doing it on purpose, even if she's trying to push your buttons. That's how we interact in the world, is how far can I push? Where are my edges? Where are your edges? And they said, why don't you get on the floor with her and help her clean it? Why is it an against? Why can't it be a towards and a connection? And they had taught me connect. They given me a phrase that I've used in everything I do in my work, is connection over correction, connection before reaction, connection before basically all things. And so it has changed the way we parent. Are we perfect? No way. But that phrase is deeply embedded in my body now. And so when I want to act crazy and say something really big and to make a statement to my kids, the words connect always come first. And then that's my action, and correction or whatever comes later. It comes later, and it looks very different because I've got a nervous system that now has regulated, because I overrode that desire to explode. I found a way I have strategies now to walk away, or even in the moment to regulate my nervous system, and then I co-regulate them. And therefore we're in a different space altogether, and we're good. And then I can come back and teach and share and shape later. And it's the best thing I've ever done. And turns out nobody is able to hear anything when they're being abused, yelled at, screamed at. I mean, basic
Threatened.
Yeah, you cannot learn when you are under threat. You can't. So the fact that we threaten and then try to teach is so backwards. And so, and I want more connection in my life. I don't want more of conflict. I want more connection. And then I want my children to learn how to grow and to know that I'm safe. And I can say, both of my kids, I ask them all the time, am I a safe person to you all the time? And they'll tell me, they'll check me. They will come for me and tell me when I am not. They will say, they will use that language, Mom, I don't feel safe right now. And I'm like, oh, tell me about it.
Nice. Yeah.
You feel aggressive. You feel this way. You sound this way. And I'm like, thanks for the information, kiddo.
Yep.
And I actually may feel aggressive about this because it's safety, and I don't play when it comes to in danger. Or I thank you for checking me on that. I will think about it for a second. Is my ego so important that I cannot receive feedback from the people who experience me 24/7? No.
Yeah.
So
yes, Stella has gotten really good at, because I just am about to make a reel today about like learning to love your strong-willed kids is way easier when you learn to love yourself first. And I've done a ton of work on learning to love myself and my aggressive tendencies, and just learn to shift from when I'm super passionate and like there's anger, which is important. It's a spotlight emotion. I get to honor that, but changing into like firm advocacy and teaching versus aggression. But she will check me very often, and I will have moments. I mean, 13 years now deep, but I'll have moments where I'm like, honey, I just don't think you realize that you come across as aggressive sometimes. And she'll just look right at me and be like, so do you. Right. And I'm like, dang it, here we are again. We're in this together. And then it's just been lovely to develop the ability to be like, okay, I receive that. And you're right. You're right. I'm still working on it. And that's okay. I'm still unpaving or unwiring, repaving the neural pathway that causes me to go really fast to aggression. Like that was the one emotion in our home, like anger, rage, aggression. Like that's what you did to get your way, you know? And so it just is wild how long it takes to undo it. And that's okay. Like I am worthy. I'm a great freaking mom. And sometimes I get really aggressive, and I'm learning how to turn that into firm and kindness, or firm like advocacy. So one of the best presents I ever had the courage to ask for from my husband, Terry, was a few days away to take care of myself and heal from a bunch of stuff that I didn't even realize at the time was holding me back from creating the life of my dreams as a mom. Over 10 years ago, Terry gifted me with his full support, which meant watching two very wild and wonderful toddlers for the entire 2 days so I could attend the Freedom to Be immersive healing program. That one investment in myself and my own healing changed everything for the future of our marriage and family as Mama came back a changed and refreshed woman. I now have the honor of teaching the same program twice a year, and our online course is taking place very soon on September 28th and October 5th. So now is the best time to talk to your spouse. If this program is on your wish list and you want to gather with me and an incredible group of open-hearted, committed parents for 2 days of personal liberation through exercises designed to set you free and empower you to create the life you were destined to live. Goodbye self-doubt, resentment, blame, bitterness, confusion, permissiveness, reactive tendencies, and people-pleasing. And hello, confidence, forgiveness, self-compassion, patience, personal responsibility, and accountability, and deep peace. You deserve this, and your time is now. So let your spouse know that more than candles or sweaters or even a massage if you have a birthday coming up, or even as an early holiday present, yes, it is okay to ask for holiday presents early, you would actually just love their support to help you take care of yourself for a few days so you can actually join us for the Freedom to Be weekend, knowing that your kiddos will be cared for. You can also consider asking a neighbor or a friend if they want to do a swap, and maybe after they help you with your kids, you can then go help them with their kids so they can go take care of themselves or their marriage in a special way. So whether it's them or family, your spouse, partner, neighbors, friends, whoever it is that you ask to help you with your kids, remember that someone is just waiting to help you out. You just have to find the courage to ask. As a special gift to our loyal podcast fans, that's you, I want you to use the coupon code TRANSFORM during the month of September to get $50 off your Freedom to Be ticket. Just head to freshstartfamilyonline.com/freedom. And again, use the code TRANSFORM, and that'll take $50 off. Alternatively, if it is easier for you, you can just DM me the word transform on Instagram. I'm at Fresh Start Wendy, and I'll personally send you a link to learn more and save your seat for Freedom to Be. Okay, and as always, if you're enjoying this episode via YouTube, you can just click the link in the episode description, or you can click through the pinned comment to snag your ticket. All right, families. Well, I can't wait to see you at Freedom to Be. It's going to be an incredible 2 days together. A few things I wanted to mention real quick. And I love that you brought this into like connection first, because we're actually going to go into, and we'll cover these points quick because I know we're a little over time. We chatted quite a bit before we pushed record. So if you have a hard stop, you just let me know. Okay. But we have these 3 beautiful points that we want to take away when it comes to like practicing 3 practices for nervous system health and inner calm in our parenting walks. And the first one we're going to come back to in a second here is grounding and centering the body, which I really believe is like centering first, like connecting first, right? You're connecting with your kids, whether it's empathy or like, I see you, like there's tons of ways we teach that, but then you're also connecting with your actual body. So, but I want to come back to that. But the fear thing I think is so important for us to recognize that, like, I think a lot of people are just so unaware of it before they start to do this work or any type of healing work. And I was cracking up because we watch the show Young Sheldon as a family now. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's really cute. And I'm so happy that my 13-year-old was like, hey, I want to watch the show. And because a lot of times, I mean, we're in like advanced shows now, like where we just watch like The Last of Us, which is like the end of the world show. And I loved it. Yeah. I was like, dang, this is violent. And then now we're on Young Sheldon, which is just like the sweetest, cutest little show with like 7 seasons. But it was so funny because Young Sheldon is this very like cynical kid, like he's very thought forward and he's like this brilliant kid. I think he's in college when he's like 9 or something. And he's like, he's like, I'm just very skeptical of the religious world because they use, it's been proven that they use fear and to control it. He goes, it's actually like a really smart, effective way to control the masses, because fear is so effective at controlling people. He's like, but I just want nothing to do with that. And his mom, who's like probably in her character is very like in the evangelical, I would guess, unhealthy circles, her character. And she goes, Sheldon, she goes, that's not our religion. She goes, our religion is all about love. And he goes, well, what happens then if you don't follow the rules? And she goes, well, you'll burn in hell. And the dad looks at her and Sheldon just looks at her and it's just the best representation of like, it's like a lot of people don't even realize, like, it's just fear mongering. It's like everything is fear. If you don't follow the rules, you'll either burn in hell or you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And whether it's humiliation, shame, or physical pain in those unhealthy circles. But I just thought that was so funny that Young Sheldon nailed it just right. It was fantastic. So with that funny story, let's just cover this first point of when it comes to nervous system health and inner calm in our parenting walks. Number 1, grounding and centering the body. And again, I'm seeing this as like connect with your body first. Is that an accurate way to think of that? And how do we do that?
Yes. And so absolutely. And one thing I tell people all the time is urgency is a trauma response in most of us. So if speaking of that fear, if you feel a fear, and it's hard, there's like so much nuance to this. You may not in the moment, your child acts a certain way, triggers you in the moment, you get big, you are responsive. You may not be able to in the moment name the thing it is, which could be fear for you. And fear of what? Who knows? What if I don't want my kid to be a felon. I don't want them to be bad. I need to teach them these things, and so I tell everyone, like, urgency is a trauma response. Stop. Who told you had to go in right now? You don't. Walk away. Acknowledge. If you can think of nothing else, remember, look at your child, get on their level and say, I hear you. I see you. I think I need a moment. I love you. That's it. Come back. They will not forget what's going on. No. And so walk away, and if you're able, or say nothing. At the very least, like in massive, big tantrum. And I've got a fiery child who I would bet, I'd like to bet nice. Is the hottest, fieriest, 0 to like 120 in a second. I've never met any child like this one. And so
sounds like Stell.
Believe me, when this individual acts this way, the things that I think are not godly, they're not even good parent thoughts. I'm just like, this kid is trying to kill me. So in that very moment, in the worst moments, I always hold her. I just hold her. And I'm actually regulating myself because I'm like, if I don't hold you, the Lord knows what I could do. I'm so angry. I mean, that is like my emergency tool is, and every single time, I'm telling you, it diffuses her. At the beginning, it would like shock her because that is not what she's expecting from me. But I will come in for a hold, and there is something, there's science behind this, like my heartbeat and her heartbeat going together and sort of creating this pattern of regulation back and forth, back and forth. And that is the thing that it's like, okay, I'm okay. And then I will calm and it'll pause her and I can walk away. But my advice is, as if you can, just press pause and walk away. And so go to your bathroom, go to your closet, give yourself 3 minutes. And all I want you to do is just breathe. And like breathe really slowly. And we'll talk about breath, but just breathe really slow as you can to sort of slow your heart rate down and just sit. And a lot of times what I do is just sort of open my hands and what is it? What is going on inside of me? It is a practice of asking myself, what is it? What is the thing under the thing? Here's rage, here's anger, disrespect. You are being disrespectful. What's underneath? There is always something underneath. And for me, a lot of times it's fear.
Yep. Bingo.
So it's grounding yourself. And the way you can do that, I mean, there's lots of ways. You can take your shoes off and get outside. Like literally putting your feet to the ground. There's a whole science behind it. If you can't, then right where you are, it's like push into the ground and feel like you're just trying to feel that you're actually alive, that you're in your body, that you're like present in this moment. Because a lot of times when we're enraged or we're in fight or flight, we're dissociated, we're coming out of our body. So we want to get right back in. Nobody's ever made good decisions from a place of dissociation. So it's like push on the ground and just know that the ground is supporting you. Like the sky hasn't fallen, nothing has happened. You're still here. And so I'm feeling the ground push against me and I'm pushing against it and it is supporting me and I'm breathing in through my nose slowly and out through my nose, which is a more ideal way to breathe than through your mouth. So if it's available to you, breathe through your nose. It is better for your health. And then I just do a quick body scan where it's like checking with the bottoms of my feet, the top of my feet, my shins, my calves, my thighs, my pelvis. And sometimes we stop there because there's just like a lot of trauma and pain stored here. And then my gut, my intuition, can I feel it unfurl? Can I allow it even like 5% to just soften, send breath to it? And then my chest and my shoulders and all the way up. And so if that's all I have time for is just a quick scan of like, all right, Kiesha, you're okay. And that kid is okay. There's no damage here. We're going to go fix this. You can do this.
And so, even if there is damage, 99% of life's mistakes are repairable.
Irreparable. There's hope. Yeah. There's grace in that. And that is freeing. So yes, it's grounding and centering. And I have a lot of different centering practices, but just for the sake of like practicality, like that is like my go-to when I'm real hot of like, I'm still here. I am checking in with different parts of me. So.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Cause it's like, I don't think I could have answered you if you were like, what does it mean to center your body? I'm like, I don't know. So I love that idea of just feeling the earth beneath you. And really everything you just covered is like all of our takeaways: grounding and centering the body, low and slow breathing to signal safety to our body. And I heard from you, like, I'm safe. My body is working. I am still here. I am not in danger. Like I always say to my students, everything is not a 4-alarm fire. Like it's okay. And 99% of mistakes are repairable. And then bringing in gratitude for the earth, others, and ourselves, as far as like the earth is just such a natural source to tap into, right? Like there is like, and am I right? It's like if we can get barefoot, that's phenomenal. But obviously in the winter, that's like often impossible. But if you can, or if you can lean up against a tree, or something, is that like, I've heard like a great way to source like, because this God-given like perfection of a tree that does not freaking freak out or worry about the birds that sit on it being entitled brats. Like, it just is so confident in its ability to grow and root itself. And like, we can tap into that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, okay, going back really quickly to the breath, functional breathing is a whole nother conversation, but if you just take anything away, it's breathing low and slow. So breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, and then trying to aim for low in your belly, a belly breath. So if you picture a glass of water or a glass, and I'm going to take a pitcher, and I'm going to pour water in it. The water goes all the way to the bottom, and then it expands and it fills up. And that's the same with our breathing. But we tend to breathe in our chest, which is shallow and has some really serious health effects that we all experience and don't even know that we experience it. And so instead of breathing in our chest with these short, shallow breaths, we want to like take all that air in and let it go really deep into our belly. And it's not just our belly, it's our sides, 360 all the way around in our back. And we just want to take low, slow breaths and let your exhale be longer than your inhale. That will slow your heart rate down. So if that's the only...
Got it. Okay.
You are pro. Okay. So then the next thing is gratitude. Yes. So if anytime you can connect with actual nature, that's why people's like pets are so, they love them. They're like, I'm a dog mom, or I've never had a pet in my life. So it's something that I've never understood until I started doing this work. Because don't hate me, I'm not the biggest animal. I'm not like the one who's running to, I will hold your baby. I don't want to hold your like, just keep the cat away from me. And so, but I didn't know, like, your cat, the reason you love your cat regulates you all the time. The peace and calm that you feel from your dog, from your whatever you have, it's because actually they know how to co-regulate you. They're bringing you into a space of calm, and guess what? That builds love and affection and connection. Imagine if you were the cat to your child, right? Like, you're doing the same thing by building that connection and love and affection and safety. And so animals are so remarkable. So, but what I want you to do, this is just a practice that I do almost every day because I find gratitude to be very difficult in the world that we live in. And so this is just a part, I would do it either in the morning or at night. And so what I do is I take my arms out because I don't care what I look like. I really want to get into my body and I want to like use my body. So I always say, put your arms, face them, like outstretch them towards the ground. And I say, thank something below you. Like, say a gratitude for something below you. It could be the soil. It could be the ground holding you up. It could be, how the food that we get, whatever below you. Find something every day to be grateful for, because it's doing this job for you, whether you think it or not. And then I say, stretch your arms up above you and offer a gratitude for something above you. It doesn't matter what, the clouds, anything, God, anything above you, the atmosphere, gravity, anything. And then it's stretch your arms out to the side, and that's towards humanity. And so naming, the power in naming gratitude for humanity. It could be your neighbor, it could be whatever. Just be grateful for people. Don't lose hope that people are good and they matter. And then bring that in towards yourself. So I put my hands on my heart and my chest. And then the biggest practice is what am I grateful for Kiesha? Kiesha, you are so fun. And I'm grateful that you bring fun to my life. I'm telling myself this, right? And so you cannot help but feel gratitude for what's around you, then bring it in and not feel something for yourself. And so these are like daily practices. And so, and once they get into your bones, and like when I say practices, I mean daily, like you've got to do this daily. And once it gets into you, you start to see people different, like your kids. You start to see the people you interact with. In fact, all I do is when I look at people, I'm just reading their nervous systems. I'm just trying to get a read on how your nervous system is showing up. And so when I was at the parent meeting the other night, and there was a parent who was loud and belligerent and angry, and see how people were moving and shifting, and their shape was as a response. And believe me, I wanted to tell this man a few things, but I just was like, this is how you're coming today. Now, what in your story has shaped you to feel so passionate about being so aggressive and so angry? And why is this so easy for you right now? And so I just got curious, and I was like, there's a story there. This isn't just him on a Monday because he's mad. This is someone who has been shaped day after day after day.
Yep.
Doesn't mean he was right, but it allows me to get more curious and less triggered, and then to respond from a place of, well, I've got some feedback I'd like to share. And even if my voice shakes, I'm coming from a centered place and not a response to that individual and their energy. That's their thing. That's their work. I want to respond from a place of like, I'm good. So yeah.
Yes. Dang, that's so good. Okay, I have one last question before we wrap, and I know we're at time. So I just actually came off of, let's see, today's Thursday. So I guess it was Monday, Tuesday. I guess that's called a 3-day, like mini kind of like depressive. I was in such a funk. It's really like the biggest one I've had in a long time. I actually went to this incredible live in-person event in Miami for my financial healing program. It was fantastic. It was like the best thing ever. And then I kind of came home and crashed, was like triggered by this one thing and then another thing on Sunday. And I just went down, 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 down. And I was like such a stinker like that. Well, because I've worked done so much beautiful work around like loving myself, even when I'm pokey and not like shiny, happy Wendy, fresh start Wendy. But I was standoffish. I was cold shoulderous. I was suppressing with my husband, my best friend. We celebrated 30 years of Valentine's Day last night. And I was just in a funk, I was just like, what the heck? And my question, and now, thank God, after some finally, I was like, really good sex this morning, which I've learned is so good for our nervous system. And also, what else did I do this morning? I finally talked. Like, I finally just stopped suppressing and like had conversations that I felt were really hard and all these things, right? And so it was like, and there was one more thing, I forget what it was, but I think I started laughing again. So I'm finally feeling better today. But my question for you, Kiesha, is, why do we resist this so much? Because I hear this from my students all the time, is like, when I'm in a pissy funk, I'm like, I'm not freaking doing this. I don't want a deep breath. I don't like, I'm fine. And I just like move from one thing to another. And I'm like, but I even though I know a lot of this, like, and I've done so much of this in the program the last 4 months that I was a part of like the nervous system settling the things, I did not do them over the past 3 days. So is there something that happens that you can just speak to like pull us back? Because when we're in the pissiest of moments, whether we're pissed at our kids or triggered by something, like I feel like those are the moments where you need it the most. And I find that I'm the most resistant. My students are often very resistant, and they're just like, you're almost trying to like prove to yourself that like life is hard and I'm not seen, and like whatever your funky little limiting beliefs are, but it's like this clawing at like staying in the pit a little bit. And I would guess the more you practice this on a consistent basis, then it just becomes more easy to do, because that's what we do with discipline in kids, right? Like the more we practice how to express anger or feel angry without punching your sister, or how to feel hurt without rolling your eyes at someone or saying something negative, then in the heated times, you're more likely to do it. Is that kind of the concept here? Because what's happening there?
Yeah, I think, well, this isn't scientific, but this is just my read on it. And earlier you were talking about your daughter, and was it teaching her to navigate, was it fear?
Scared, yeah.
Being scared. Okay. So because we haven't been coached or most of us have not had someone come alongside us and help us as children to sort of shape our nervous systems or to interact with different emotions safely. Like, we have natural responses. So like when my mother comes over and says, gosh, your kids talk to you in a way that you wouldn't.
Right.
Me.
Lovely.
I'm
Yeah.
very triggered by that because I'm like, I was so scared of you. And so I think it's similar to that. Like, that's the work we're doing now with our kids, right? It's similar in that we just don't know how to what to do. Our bodies don't know what to do. Dissociation is very easy. So we can start a diet, and for 6 months, we're eating whole foods. We're walking every day. We're feeling great. Our body's feeling strong. We're feeling confident. And we're like, why have I spent my whole life eating Doritos for breakfast? And then we pop out of it. Like, it could be like one vacation, one thing that pops us out, and we're like, back to the way we are. Like, so I don't know why the science of why it's so hard to do what you do, but I do know that you have to first of all, give yourself permission, give yourself grace to know just doing the best you can. And there are parts of you that are holding fast and surviving. And so when it's really hard and there's things that you have a resistance to, you may not be ready for, and that's okay. You may have never had anyone tell you, Wendy, it's okay if you're not ready. And you might go, well, you as a type A perfectionist, no, I'm ready. I want to heal. I want to change. And it's like, whoa, trauma response. What if in the healing change, it was acknowledging, this is hard for me. I don't know how to come back to this. What if that was part of the work? And then what if it's so good that you were like, okay, well, I actually could set an alarm, and I could give myself, and I always tell my clients, 3 minutes. I am not asking you to meditate for 20 minutes or an hour.
Wow.
3 with an iPhone timer or Android or whatever you use. Use a timer for 3 minutes and just breathe for 3. And then when you're done, set a timer for 2 minutes, get your journal and write whatever you want. You can write the F word over and over.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Right. 2 minutes. Give yourself 1 minute. It doesn't matter. But what happens when you give yourself ease and permission to take a new shape, you start to go, oh, this feels good. There's actually some real pleasure in this. And that on repeat is what starts to really change us. And so,
great. Yeah. That is so helpful. Thank you. I feel like my soul is seen, and that's exactly like, what I needed to hear and remember. And that is where I was going this week. Yeah. So that feels really good. I'm like, okay. And I think the key is to not do harm to yourself or others in the midst, right? Like, we don't need to be perfect, but getting to a point where you're not harming yourself or others, that is the important part, where we'd like to get there sooner than later, right? And I do feel like 13 years into this work, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not like the shiniest, happiest wife in the world. And for some reason with Terry, he is my safest. He's the one that I show up with the most authentically, if like, I'm still not okay. And I'm not hurting, and if I do it all, I'm making sure I do repair and whatever the thing. So, my gosh, Kiesha, you are a breath of fresh air. That's like no pun intended, but that just came out of me.
I love it. So funny.
And what a delight to have this conversation today. We did run a little bit over, so thank you for your grace to be here. And we were just chatting it up before we started recording, and I think even the episode is going to go a little long, but that's okay. I just am really excited to bring your message and your work to my community and the world. So tell everyone where they can come find you if they want to learn more about your work and how to get involved and supported by you.
Yeah, I love it. So Instagram, I think, is the easiest. I'm Kiesha Yokers on Instagram, and I before E except after C. And so, come find me there. And then my website is KieshaYokers.com. And so you can, of course, interact with me there. I do somatic coaching, and I work with people, groups, one-on-one, but my main work is through Lindy Wow. And I just love that you remember so much. And so I teach breathwork through the app and, somatic strategies. And we have so much. You're going to be so excited. So many things coming this year in the app. So I don't know if you have
a free trial. We do.
Yeah.
We have a little link for
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and sometimes you're like, I don't know what to do. I know she said breathe, but I mean, come try it for 2 weeks for free. And I'll guide you through it. Really short, impactful sessions of like, how do I regulate right now? How do I get better sleep right now? I've got insomnia, or I just, I struggle with digestion. I mean, there's breath work for everything. So
yep. This morning I did one of yours about letting go of anxiety. I could feel like it felt like a elephant inside of my chest. And that's like not common for me. I was like, what the F is happening to me this week?
Yeah.
And Terry's having similar weird stuff. So I'm like, I think we're connected and releasing something really big. I think God's doing something really big for both of us right now together and blah, blah, blah. But that anxiety releasing meditation that I did through the app this morning was beautiful and short and lovely. And yeah, listeners, we'll make sure we put that link for the free, I think it's a free 7-day trial, I think is our little link that we have, but it may be 14. I'll check. And we'll make sure we
put it because we just changed it to 14.
Oh, thank you, Kiesha. That would be wonderful. So we'll make sure we include that, guys. And then for your somatic coaching work, your group programs, do you do anything on Zoom, or are you pretty much in person where you're at?
Yeah, nope, all on Zoom. And
fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So absolutely. You can find me, like I said, on my website or Instagram and DM me, and love to connect with people.
It's just amazing what you can do on Zoom now with somatic work. And it's so effective. Being someone that personally had such a release and eye-opening experience with it, it's phenomenal. So listeners, make sure you go check out what Kiesha's offerings are. Thank you again for being here. And we cannot wait to share this episode into our community. And thanks again, Kiesha. All right, families, I hope you enjoyed this episode. As we wrap our time together, don't forget to head on over to freshstartfamilyonline.com/freedom to learn more about the Freedom to Be course happening online September 28th and October 5th. Alternatively, you can also find me on Instagram. I'm at Fresh Start Wendy, and just shoot me a DM with the word transform, and I will personally message you back with a link to check out what Freedom to Be is all about, as well as give you more info about the incredible payment plan we have available to make this experiential learning program accessible for all. Now, seats are extremely limited due to the advanced healing nature of this course. So if you are interested in pouring into yourself, yes, you deserve it. Healing from your past, breaking free from limiting beliefs, and taking charge in the most empowered way to create the family and parenting experience, life and family legacy of your dreams, then head on over to freshstartfamilyonline.com/freedom to learn more. And as always, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, it's very easy to just click through the show description or the pinned comment down below. So that's an easy way to find all the information about Freedom to Be also. Thank you for being a loyal part of our Fresh Start Family Show community. We see you, we honor you, we are over here cheering you on. Hooray! You made it to the end of a Fresh Start Family Show episode. Thank you so much for being here. If you have a quick second, make sure you hit subscribe to our show so you can be updated when our new episodes drop. I will see you back soon for the next episode.